You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
İşaret geldi. Ricardo Quaresma! Ricardo Quaresma! İyi nokta. Kapalı! Gol! Quaresma ortayı yaptı. Sekti. Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Maç boyunca durdu, şimdi attı. Abu Bakar attı. Abu Bakar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. Dear Black Eagles, it's another European post show. So it's another disappointment in a sense. We are coming off our second loss in the Europa League stages. Unfortunately, last night we lost 1-3 to the number 2 in the Bundesliga right now. That is something that we should mention repeatedly, I feel. Welcome to the show. Please join us in the live chat. Yes, go ahead, Sinan. No, they won this in 2023. Yeah, they beat Rangers in the final. Giovanni van Bronckhorst Rangers in the finals. Yes. That was Bayer Leverkusen. Definitely. Well, they made a great start to the season. They had a little hiccup last week in the Europa League. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, there you see. Yeah. All right, that's fixed now. So they were indeed. They won the Europa League in 2023, Sinan, and right now they're in second position in the Bundesliga. And as you mentioned, you confused them with Bayer Leverkusen because you thought they were runners-up last year, but that was of course Bayer Leverkusen. We lost 1-3 on the night, but a very different loss than it was last week against Ajax. Against Ajax last week, it was very discouraging. Mainly, I think we were all a little bit disappointed in the tactical choices made by Giovanni van Bronckhorst, and also just, the collective off day of the team, of course. But yesterday, Sinan, I felt like the team played their own game. Giovanni van Bronckhorst came out with, arguably the right lineup. Let's have a look at that lineup straight away. Let's get straight into it. I don't think that Giovanni van Bronckhorst made any major errors this time around. You know what I mean? So here,
not at all.
So here's.
I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I thought he made exactly the right moves in a sense. Obviously the one controversial one is not playing Semi on the left side.
Is it still controversial?
That's well, and that's what that's why I say for some, but not probably not for us. And I think most would agree that Cher Endur was the correct call in that as the backup. Of course, everyone recalls that Al Musrati was still injured. But yeah, I mean, after his performance midweek, or not, I guess not midweek, on the weekend. I've prioritized Europe somehow. But yeah, based on how he played against Kayseri, I think it made a ton of sense for him to be the starter. Would you agree with that, Kaan?
Yeah. He had a good game against Kayseri for sure, and I also think, a little spoiler, but I think he affirmed that in this game. I think he had a decent game here again, and he will hopefully start again on the weekends against Gaziantep. I think he deserves to start. And I mean, I think. What stood out to me, Sinan, I don't know if that's standing out to you as well, but as soon as the lineup dropped, I felt like half our fandom went into a frenzy about the lineup.
Mostly about Ersin, right?
Ersin not starting and Semi not starting are the only two I can think of. I saw some tweets from people that they were acting like we started a B team or something. I don't know what's up with that. People are incredibly eager to jump on, I don't know,
the hate wagon.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people out there right now who are ready to start a riot or whatever. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I think we all kind of swallowed when we saw the lineup and saw Ersin in goal, and the first inclination is, is there some, is this a tactical choice or whatever? But then you see in the bench, Mert isn't on the bench, so logic then dictates, okay, Mert must be injured.
And sure enough, like right before the match, the news came that he had a shoulder injury, which worries you because those can be recurring, can be hard to recover from. But I don't know. I feel like it's good. It's good that we have Ersin at least, given the need for someone with a bit of experience in that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Of course, we'll go into that in depth because I think Ersin is somebody that we need this season, and some fans haven't seemed to gotten that memo. Would you mind running down the lineups for us, Sinan?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll start with our opposition just to get it out of the way, bastards. And of course, I'll, as always, start at the back, moving forward, which of course puts the focus directly on Mr. Kawa Santos. Kawa? How do you pronounce that? But yeah, their goalkeeper apparently is their backup, which makes it even more, I guess you could say, ridiculous. He's only 21-year-old goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Which, you'd think, oh, that's good news. Kind of, inexperienced.
Especially,
anyway, up ahead of him.
He made some mistakes, I think, against Pilsen that cost them the 3 points in that game. So I think going into this match, Kevin highlighted it as a potential weakness in our preview because of his sometimes uncertainty. And then for him to be the man of the match, that's a sour grape.
Clear man of the match, yeah, and we'll talk about that, I think, plenty in a moment. Right up ahead of him is a Belgian, Arthur Theat. I don't know how you pronounce that. 24-year-old. He was quite good. I'm gonna put that on the record
game for sure.
Next to him, 28-year-old Robin Koch.
Not
yeah, I know. I wanted to do that on purpose. For anyone who knows, if you know, you know. 5th minute of the match, he was a real cock. Anyway, 28-year-old German, him. On the left side of their defense, Niels Nkuku, 23-year-old Frenchman. Opposite him, 27-year-old Danish Rasmus Christensen. In their midfield, Mahmoud Daoud, 28-year-old Syrian, who played next to Hugo Larsson, 20-year-old Swedish central midfielder. On the right side of their midfield was Eric Ebimbe, 23-year-old Cameroonian. Opposite, a name that I think will be giving people some nightmares, or did at least last night. Egyptian 25-year-old Omar Marmouche, who I think we can all recognize is probably a talent.
Yeah, somebody that
probably
Kevin
going to make them some money.
Kevin highlighted him as one of their most dangerous players, and I think we know why after this game.
Sadly. 32-year-old German Mario Götze up top, next to the 21-year-old Croatian Igor Matanovic, who. It's funny, the guy. So we had a British guy on Paramount Plus, and he was talking about how he reminded him of Mandzukic, and I kept thinking, why? Because he's Croatian?
Yeah.
Like that didn't make a lot of sense.
I can't really say that he made much of an impression on me, honestly. Like,
no, not at all. I mean, he looked like Mario Gomez, kind of, very tall, kind of handsome dude. But yeah. But so yeah, there's no Mandzukic. There either. I don't really know what he saw. Yeah, at least he was tall. And so then for us, the main attraction, naturally, we had Ersin Destanoğlu in goal, who, as we were just sort of alluded to, and we might as well say, I mean, first of all, he's only 23, which surprised me. For some reason, I thought he was already 25.
It was only 19 when we won the league.
That's right. When he was our starting goalkeeper to win the Super League.
That's something
worth reminding folks.
Exactly. That's something some people apparently need to be reminded of because,
because they were petulant little pricks at the stadium. And I don't mind. I'm just gonna say that if anyone who's at the stadium who was booing yesterday is listening, I want you to know that we're not fond of that bullshit. And I really, again, I don't. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I think at length at some point. But just especially Ersin, like. I don't know that he did anything wrong, even in this match.
I mean, neither of the players that got booed did anything wrong. On the contrary, for Mucci, he was one of our best players on the pitch. So,
I thought so too. Anyway, continuing with the lineup, of course, we have Gabriel Paulista opposite Felix Udokai. Back in the lineup, Jonas Svensson, which I think made a lot of people happy to see him back. Arthur Masuaku was there opposite him. Jedson Fernandes opposite, as we spoke of already. Cher Ndur in the midfield, which, made a lot of sense. Again, Al Musrati out for, I think, likely even this next match is looking like. I mean, it's good we have the break,
He will. He
for him
should
to rest,
be back
recover.
after the break. He has a little groin strain pull, maybe something like that. So the estimated time he would be out was 10 days. So if it sticks to that estimation, he should be fully fit come the Konyaspor game.
Which we obviously hope for, but then on the other hand, what if Sharon Dur gives us the selection headache? Which wouldn't be a bad problem. I mean, I think we'd probably give it to Al Musrati by virtue of the fact that he's like permanently our player, right? But I don't know. I mean, Sharon Dur, not bad yesterday either.
No.
And we'll talk about that too, I think, as well. Moving on. Up ahead of those two in the midfield, restored into his number 10 role, which brought me great joy, was Rafa Silva, who was flanked by Milot Rashica and Ernest Mucci. And up top, of course, the king, our Italian stallion, Ciro Immobile. And I mean, like you said, I think exactly the lineup you would have hoped for. I think the lineup that a lot of us maybe even would have hoped for against Ajax, right?
Yeah.
Even if it resulted in a loss, all the same, right? Just seeing us play in this way, play the way that we did yesterday against Eintracht Frankfurt, frankly.
Yeah.
Now that we're through the lineup, I'll just start out with the hottest take I can. Just to be that kind of guy. For people who are like, oh, we haven't played good football since, what are they saying? Since the break, right? My argument to that
break, some people...
Yeah. And my argument against that is that I think we've actually... I mean, there's no doubt we've struggled a little bit. That Trabzonspor match was sort of a weird... Sorry for the siren. I don't know if the UN is still in town, but... I mean, the UN is obviously still in town, but you know what I mean. Whatever this big event was recently. Where was I going with that? I thought
that the Trabzonspor might have been a little bit weird. Yeah.
We stumbled against Trabzon, and I think going down a man, seeing them go down a man rather. They scored quickly, right? Then just started parking the bus. It was Şenol Güneş's first match in charge of his club, and the stadium was packed. And I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate that all season. You hope they do against our rivals, but it's another story. Anyway, so that was just a weird game. And then beyond that, we struggled a little bit with a high press at first, but then I think, especially by the second half of the Kayserispor match, most recently, we found it. We found our game again. We were playing good football, moving the ball around, attacking, creating chances again. And frankly, I would argue that this match against Eintracht Frankfurt is an example of that continuing. I think we played pretty good football, frankly.
Yeah. It was, I think...
Honestly.
It was relative to the strength of our opponent, which I feel people... I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like people are looking at football in a sense where it's really easy to play good football and that the opponent is not a factor. Like, you should be able to play tiki-taka regardless of the opposition. That's maybe true if you're 2008 Barcelona, but that's not true for the majority of teams or clubs in the world. And I think, well, you know, first and foremost, obviously the big 5-0 Super Cup game, I think set expectations unrealistically high. We had a really good game against Antalyaspor as well, who were relatively open at the back. We had a good game against Lugano, 2 good games against Lugano, you could say, but one really good one at home, or at least for parts of that match, very good. Like, we had I think we've played some football that you haven't seen Beşiktaş play in a while, and that has set the bar extremely high in the minds of some people. But then, like, they're completely discounting the teams that we've played. Like, Samsunspor right now, that's the first team we faced and in the league, and they are currently in 4th position with 15 points out of a potential 21. You know, that's something. Like, they're 1 point with equal games. They're 1 point behind Fenerbahce. Just to give you an idea, like, that is not a team. That's not Adana Demirspor. Both our rivals played Adana Demirspor. Fener somehow managed to only score 1 goal against them. But Galatasaray, like, you know, beat them to a pulp thanks to some silly mistakes from Adana Demir and giving them a really quick 2-goal lead. But, like, the expectations are so unrealistic, I feel. Like, fans seem to think that we should be beating Sivasspor 5-0, that we should be beating Eyüpspor 4-0, that we should be beating... Well, Kayseri, okay, I can understand. Like, the first half against Kayserispor, I think, was very disappointing. Second half, for sure. I wouldn't say it was good football, but it was good enough. We beat them, and, like...
I would say that it wasn't excellent. It wasn't very good, but it was good. You know, like, we created a bunch of chances.
Good enough.
But yeah, it wasn't... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good enough. Yeah. Good, not great, right?
Yeah, and you need to keep in mind that we're building something. We're coming off of our worst season in the past 25 years. That's a quarter of a century. That's more than some of you people have been alive that are watching this right now. Like, I think a lot of our viewers are in their mid-20s. So legitimately, almost as long as you have been on this planet, Beşiktaş hadn't had a worse Super League season, a worse Super League campaign. We're coming off of that. Like, we were having, after the game yesterday, I was not upset because I thought we played a respectable game, and I was not in the mood for bitching and complaining, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then you just have people who have to bitch and complain about everything. Like, was it good enough? No, it wasn't good enough to beat this Frankfurt on this night. I think if you play this game 10 times, I think we win it a few, like maybe 5 times. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like and
maybe even 6.
Maybe even 6.
Frankly, we created a lot of chances. No, look, this is what this is probably what I should have led with, rather than, you know, diving in with the hot take that we were just good. But look, there's really no one should take any shame from the fact that we're not as good as Eintracht Frankfurt right now. Period. Right? They, like we just said, they're fresh off of winning a European Cup.
Well, 2
they're
years,
a good
2
side.
Ago,
yeah, well, fresh, right? Like it's
fresher
enough
than a certain yellow club.
A lot fresher than certainly anyone in Turkey. Yeah. No, and look. They're a good side that's sort of still in the ascendancy, right? You've already mentioned that they're doing quite well in Germany right now. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Bundesliga. You know, here's another hot take, I guess. For me, the Bundesliga is the best league in the world, and obviously that doesn't mean they have the highest quality teams. You know, we know what the Premier League can pay, and that's going to bring you a certain pedigree regarding talent. But I think when you look at the full package of what makes a league good, You have a lot of teams that like develop players well, that have great academies, that seem to spend fairly prudently, that are on the cutting edge of technology regarding sports science and scouting and advanced stats to find good players from places that are not traditionally focused on by scouts. So it's a league that's always, I think, at the forefront of like they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, and they invest those resources well. And it's in a lot of ways typically German stuff, but the result of that for me is that it is, I think, the best league as far as that full package goes. So for a club to be, and I'm not going to say that Eintracht Frankfurt is the second best club in Germany. Obviously, the fact that they're in second place now is anecdotal.
Yeah,
who knows how this ends.
It's a moment in time,
Yeah,
it's a snapshot.
But I would say it's not controversial to say that they're a top 5 side in the Bundesliga, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I think I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the best league in the world, like you were saying, but I do definitely follow some of your logic. I think in particular when it comes to fans.
That's the one I forgot to mention. Yeah, and the fan culture, right?
I think they have arguably the best fan culture in the world. They have so many clubs with a ton of fans. Every day, every week is sold out. The clubs are owned 50% by the fans. So in that regard, it's a fantastic league. In terms of pure eccentric quality, I think La Liga and the Premier League are far ahead of the other leagues in the top 5. I think the Bundesliga
for sure.
The Bundesliga is probably like on par for third with Serie A right now. But still, it's a top
talent-wise,
league. Yeah, and it's still a top league, and I think mainly in terms of tactical advancements, Germany and Spain and Italy are the top 3 breeding grounds right now. I think German coaches, Italian coaches, and Spanish coaches are generally considered to be the best in the world. Generally considered. It's just that's where all the talent comes from. That's where all the tactical advancement comes from. There's a reason why an English coach has never won the Premier League. It's always a foreigner.
Yeah.
It's always a foreigner. I don't know how much.
And it's worth mentioning Hansi Flick is killing it over at Barcelona, right? At the moment.
So definitely we need to take that into perspective. And it's just, one of the things, Sinan, that I was really thinking yesterday when I was watching the game and after the game as well, it really brought me back to when I used to watch, when I was a kid growing up, and I used to watch Champions League games of Club Brugge, Anderlecht, Genk, the Belgian clubs in the evenings on Belgian television when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old growing up. And I just remember those matches where the Belgian clubs would play well against strong opponents like Werder Bremen, for example, like Borussia Dortmund, like Milan, like, really big clubs from big leagues. Especially at the time Werder Bremen in the mid-2000s, they had just won the Bundesliga and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just remember watching the Belgian teams play them at the time and actually playing really good matches and sometimes even beating them. Like I think Brugge beat Werder Bremen, Borussia Dortmund in like 2003 and stuff like that. So it can certainly happen. But so many times, like if they played 10 matches, maybe they'd win like 1 or 2 and they have to play out of their minds and like be super efficient and stuff like that and play perfectly almost. But like 7 or 8 out of 10 times, they'd play good and they'd get punished because the details always went towards the, the superior tactical, the superior quality, the little details always went their way. And yesterday I felt like we played, I'm not going to say we played great, I don't think we did, but I think we played a good enough match, a respectable match. We did not deserve to lose, especially not by 3-0. I know it ended up being 1-3, but At the end, that was like a consolation goal at best. But
Garbage time.
for the most part of for the most part of the game, it was 2-0, and then it was 3-0 for a good while. And I think we never deserved to lose like that, because with the game that we played, with the match that we played, we didn't deserve that. I don't even think we deserved to lose, period. Definitely not by 2 or more goals. But it really brought me back to that time in the 2000s, maybe even the 2010s, just where we were good, but not quite good enough, and we made a few mistakes, and they got punished ruthlessly. And Gio van Bronckhorst also said that in his post-match press conference. He said that, like, in Europe, especially like against teams like this caliber, like obviously if you play against Rigas, you know, that's different. If you play against Lugano, who we all agree, good team, very well coached, but Lugano is not Eintracht Frankfurt. Lugano is not Lazio Roma. Lugano is not Lyon. Lugano is not Newcastle. You know, they're not a top 5 league team with a very high budget and all that kind of stuff, and a really good coach and good structure and blah and blah and blah and blah. They're not a top 5 league team, and that is a big difference. Like, there's a huge difference when you play a team like this. Like, even Ajax last week, like, look, I think if we played like we did yesterday against Ajax, maybe we lose, but I don't think we do. And
maybe not. Yeah, I think we let them grow into the game, especially considering how young their team was.
Yeah, for sure. But
no, look, and this is why I mentioned that I rate the German league so high too. In that, like, I don't think when you face a side in the top 5 or even the top 10 in Germany, it's different than the same even in those leagues that are better than them talent-wise. There's always a degree of organization, you know. Like there's always you know, some reliance on developing players from their academy. You know, there's a cohesion. It seems like, you were talking about German coaches. There's always a seeming approach, you know, that they have. So there's just a quality in place, like you said, that, you know, you can't make any mistakes in some sense, right? Like, or that's what it feels like. And then, I mean, I don't even know. Like yesterday, the kind of mistake that really turned the match was Gabriel Paulista's. Yeah. And that's theoretically a mistake you can't make in any match, right? And the fact that it was made in a match that we looked like the better side in up until that point, and it kind of really just like turned things around.
Up until that point, first and foremost, we had that I thought really good shot from Scherendorf, and then this moment happened, Sinan, and I think this was potentially match deciding, because I think it was after the shot from Endur, we have a through ball to Ciro Immobile, who you can see at the top here, and I'm about to zoom in for you. But so, of course, everyone's appealing for a red card. The entire stadium is booing. Ciro is appealing, like, you know, I was fault, this is a red card, last man. And there's communication with the referee, with VAR, and then he gets called to the camera. And they actually, instead of showing him the position first, they show him this. And I'm sure it's happened before, Sinan, but I cannot remember seeing this, where a referee was called over for an on-field review to decide whether or not a position is offside or not. Like, to my knowledge, VAR always decides, and then if it's offside, they don't call him to the camera. But here they did, and let's have a look here, Sinan. This is as close as I could zoom in. I know it's pixelated, but you see, you can vaguely make out that little red line that goes up, right? You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Like, they had the referee review on field. So this, first and foremost, this tells me this is not a semi-automatic offside. This is not semi-automatic offside, because if it was, then the semi-automatic offside system would show clearly, okay, it's that many centimeters offside. So they weren't using semi-automatic offside. That much is clear. So how arbitrary is it that, you know, they have to choose the exact moment the player who plays the ball plays it? And this is like, this is not offside I don't think this is offside. Like, if you see that red line, it goes and maybe his shoulder is maybe on offside, but that shouldn't count. Like, it should be up to the armpits, not the shoulder. So this, to me, is not an offside. And I felt like they...
I know what you're gonna say. I think I agree.
It was it felt like a cop-out, Sinan.
Yeah, compensation.
No, it's
like, we don't want to.
Not compensation.
No, that's the wrong word. Yeah, no, but it's like we don't want to affect the game this much right when it starts.
Exactly. It was like
let's find
7 minutes.
Some other reason not to give it.
It really felt like they wanted to give the referee a way out, because they knew if they would if they would show they knew it was a red card.
Yeah.
They knew they had to give a red card, if not for this offside. And this offside is so unclear. Like, I know in the Premier League there have been goals disallowed over the last couple of seasons for literal millimeters, just like this, where you're like this much of your knee and you're offside, and it's been very controversial. And like, look, this is a potential 100% scoring chance.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Is it offside? Again, guys, I mean, let me know please in the comments, in the live chat, guys. Do you think this is offside? I'm gonna show the wide angle again. Like, is this offside? I really don't think it's offside. I think he's onside, and this is a red card. At the very least, if that's the image you have, like, is that enough? Is that enough to overturn the call that they've already had to make, basically? Is there something very clear here? It's so hard. I don't know how you see this image and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's offside. He watched for.
I really don't.
He watched for a while, but they asked, like, look, they clearly, obviously we can't hear what the referees are saying, but it's clear from the situation that they called him over. They did not make the decision. They couldn't say, okay, this is definitively offside, yes or no. You have to make the call. That is why why they showed it to him. Otherwise, it's either a decision on is this last man, is that red or not? And that so to me, if VAR cannot show, this is the same thing as our goal against Pendikspor last season that got disallowed. The corner where they could not show that it went out, so that goal should have stood. And I think here, it's like innocent until proven guilty. VAR could not, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove this is offside. That is why they had to ask the referee for his judgment. VAR is not but offside is not judgment anymore. With the technology we have, it's either offside or it's not. So VAR needs to be able to decide that. This, to me, just screams giving the ref a way out. For me, this was a red card. And look, I'm not saying we win this game if it's a red card, because that goalkeeper was not, like, he was having a game. It's like, it was like a match where maybe body.
If you think about it, maybe that was his confidence rising throughout the match, and perhaps if we'd kind of rattled him early on, we would have seen more of that version that Pilsen got. Like, there's so many what ifs once you open that box.
I think this goalkeeper played such a good game. Like, immediately that first save on Endur's shot was fantastic. Like, there were actually a bunch of really good saves in the first half. Like, you had Endur's shot, you had Chiro's shot, you had Rafa's shot, and you had the penalty. That goalkeeper made 4 fantastic saves in the first half. Like, we were talking to Özcan, rewatched the entire game yesterday, apparently, because he taped it. and he said we didn't really create many chances, and what we created was from outside the box, so apparently that's not a chance. But like, I'm sorry, that Ndour shot, yeah, that's from the edge of the area, but that's a really well hit shot. That's going in. Yeah. That's a good save. I'm not saying that's a world-class save, but the save on Ciro on the penalty was fabulous, because that was not a bad penalty. That was a well-hit penalty. It wasn't not a perfect penalty, but well enough to force a really damn good save. And then the shot from Ciro from the Mucci layoff with his chest, that was really damn good. Yeah. That was a fantastic save. And then I had forgotten
And actually, on the penalty, it got called for a penalty first, but the ball drops to Rafa and he gets a shot off in the box that leads to the penalty. Actually, which creates the handball. Yeah. So we actually did create a chance in the box there as well. So of course, then it gets whistled.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I think if they get a red card, I'm not saying we win it. I think the chances are significantly higher. Because they are
or at least maybe we get a point, or the one thing we can definitely grant is it's not like a lopsided loss. The way, I mean, 3-1 isn't even that bad, but probably it's an even better scoreline for us at the very least.
Yeah, no, I don't think we lose this game.
I'm not sure we deserve to.
No, like I said, I think 11 versus 11 we didn't deserve to lose, and I think if their central defender gets sent off in minute 7, I think they're forced to take off one of their attackers, and that will inhibit their ability to counter.
And for anyone who's like, oh, but look what happened against Trabzonspor. Again, remember that there's a huge difference. We're at home in this case. We have the fans behind us. There's no new coach. It's a German side that's foreign to playing in Turkey. That's getting the crowd volume, right? If anything, it just adds to the pressure on them. So it's not at all a like-for-like scenario to the Trabzon.
No, it isn't. And look, I mean, like I said, we can still lose this game, even 11 versus 10. That is perfectly possible. It's football. I am just saying this is a match in which we played a good game. Not great, a good game. We created chances. Now, whether or not those are clear-cut, open goal chances or not, we forced their goalkeeper to multiple really good saves. So those are good chances, because those are good shots. Therefore, good chances. And it's.
Do you want to pull up the stats, Con? I feel like we might as well.
Yeah, let's have a look at the stats.
So, to reiterate, basically everything that you've said. Ball possession in our favor, 65% to 35%. And someone in our group chat was like, yes, but surely you're aware of the fact that Eintracht Frankfurt normally gives a lot of possession to their opponent, and their average is 47%. Okay,
that's fine.
Once again, they had 35% of the ball, so we were even by that metric, we were pretty dominant in that sense. We had much of the ball. We were pretty comfortable on it. Anyway. XG, also backing up everything we've said thus far, 2.46 on our end to their 2.22. Definitely worth noting that 2.46 XG was the highest of any side in the Europa League competition yesterday, which is telling, I think you could say.
Yeah.
We had 27 shots to their 11. We had as many shots on target, 11, as they had in total, 11. And they only had 5 on target, 4 of them big chances. We only had 1 big chance, is their claim. That's subjective. Big chances missed. We missed 1, they missed 2. Con, did you want to say something about the XG thing before I go into the pass numbers?
People argue, but that's just because we had so many shots. But like I think it's not so much about how many shots you have necessarily. I think what is more important is, do you force their goalkeeper to good saves? Are they easy saves or are they good saves? And I think yesterday their goalkeeper made at least 5 excellent saves.
Absolutely.
5 excellent saves. And look,
And nobody would ever make the argument that he wasn't the man of the match, which in turn basically implies that you're acknowledging that we put a lot of chances on target that he did very well to save. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's the thing, is that nobody can actually make the argument that we didn't play fairly well or deserve more out of this match, just by virtue of the fact that they have to say, by acknowledging that their goalkeeper was the man of the match, they're acknowledging all the rest of that. Anyway, pass numbers. We had, and see, this is back to where we kind of want to be. 502 passes completed. That might be our high for the season so far, which also, I think, reiterates that we played pretty well. We completed them at an 84% rate as well, so we did it efficiently. They only had 231 passes at a 72% rate. So that's kind of in the Anadolu side of things. Like, that's, it doesn't matter that they're a side that's like used to ceding the ball to their opponent. We played them well. They were not very comfortable. Like that argument doesn't ring true for me. We committed 10 fouls. They committed 11. We were offsides once. They were offsides 3 times. We had 11 corner kicks, and they had 1.
Offside once, and guess which one that is?
Yeah, we all know which one that was. The one they had to concoct.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. Come on. I'm very disappointed. It felt almost like Turkish refereeing. Other than that, I thought the referee was pretty good. But this just feels like, it felt like taking the easy way out. I'm sorry. That just doesn't sit really well with me. Yeah. I think if it was the other way around, I think we'd all be saying like, "Oh, thank God, we just escaped," because they escaped.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
They escaped, and the scoreline and the score procedure of the match would not suggest that at any point they escaped, but they escaped so badly. Like, if 7 minutes into the game and you're down to 10 men, and it's not just that, right? Like. Do you mind reading the duels and the discipline stats as well, Sina?
Sure. Yeah, and they won slightly more duels than we did, which again makes sense considering that we were attacking them for much of the game. They won 54 duels to our 47, just 53% to 47. Ground duels won 36 in our favor to their 32. And I wouldn't be surprised if much of that was in our midfield, kind of, turning their possession into our counters. Like, we were very active. Aerial duels won. They won 22. We won 11. Again, that's because we were pumping it into their box quite a bit, but they handled that well.
They were also really good on set pieces and stuff. And I think that was one of the big issues yesterday is we got so many corners. You said it, 11 corners, and we do so little with it.
We've got, like, we need a set piece maestro. We don't have one.
We either need a set piece specialist in terms of a player, or we need a coach, a set piece specialist coach to come in, because we need to do more with these set pieces. We have so many dead ball situations also in the league, and if you remember, I highlighted this in the beginning in the summer. I highlighted this as a potential big issue in my opinion, that we were going into the season without a real dead ball specialist. But then, if you will remember, like in the first few games, we actually had a few really good set pieces. Like if you remember, the goal against Samsunspor was an excellent short taken corner, and we scored a great goal from that. And we of course scored a goal from Masuaku's with the laid off free kick, and that Masuaku hits the bar, and then Chio headed it home. That's a little less, that's a little bit more luck involved, but still. But I think that kind of tempered our screaming for it, or appealing for it. But we've been I've been a little frustrated lately with all our corners. We take almost all our corners short. I think we take like 70% of our corners short, and most of the time it leads to absolutely no danger whatsoever. It tends to lead to passing the ball back, back to the fullback or back to the central defender, and it feels like we just waste our corners. And this could also be seen as a little bit of a pragmatical choice, because obviously losing the ball on a corner creates a potential counter-attacking opportunity for the opponent. So I kind of have the feeling like we're taking short corners just to make sure we retain possession, but it feels like we're missing a lot of potential goal-scoring opportunities. It's not like we don't have height in our team. We have height, we have the ability to score goals on corners, so I feel like we should be doing more with that.
Yeah, and it's worth back to the free kick set piece thing. I remember, I think we were maybe 2-0 down, and we were kind of working our way back into this and starting to kind of like, okay, we're actually still playing well. No, we can maybe do this. And Cheeto, I think it was Cheeto Immobile, or maybe it was Rafa Silva. One of them earned us a great free kick in a pretty dangerous position, like right straight on. And Jedson just like skied it.
Yeah.
I remember that like took a year off my life just because I was so hopeful of something coming from it, and then it was just such a disappointment. But anyway, finally to wrap that duel thing up, we won the majority of we had 11 successful dribbles, completing 55% of them. They only had 2, completing 18%, and both sides had 3 yellow cards, no reds. So that's it for stats.
Yeah. And I feel like this is a relatively lopsided series of stats. Although they had high XG, because they had their penalty and they had a few one-on-one situations. They take a relatively early lead. They make it 2-0 rather quickly on a set piece, and I think we just gave up really easy goals. The penalty was really dumb. There was no need for it. That was really poor judgment by Paulista. Can happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen too often anymore, and definitely not in important situations. But it can happen. That's gonna happen a few times a season. It's unfortunate, but then we go down 2-0 relatively quick, and I think that of course obviously creates a situation in a game where we have to start pressing higher, we have to start pushing, and they get counter-attacking opportunities. And you have to give them credit. Like, especially in the first half, I thought every time Marmoush came on the ball, I really had the feeling that somebody, during the tactical analysis of this game, Marmoush was highlighted. I was like, oh, be really careful for this guy. He's dangerous, because there's a few moments where Marmoush gets on the ball and like 3 or 4 of our players kind of swarm around him, and he still manages to get out of it because they swarm around him, but they're all kind of afraid of him. Like, remember, against Galatasaray in the Super Cup, Rafa had
the way they were
were very wary of Rafa. I felt like we were very similar to Marmoush there, and that wasn't so much an issue in the second half, but in the first half that really stood out to me. And they had dangerous counterattacks, and they had good goal-scoring opportunities on those counters. And in the second half, there was definitely a 15 to 20 minute period where I thought it's gonna be 3-0 before it's gonna be 1-2, because their counters looked really, really dangerous. But that's.
I mean, one thing that we did do well, though, and it goes back to what you were saying about the Marmoush thing, was I noticed that they made a point of like someone get in front of some of these trickier players like Marmoush, and then make sure that he has support coming from behind. And that was fairly effective. That one person could kind of act as a decoy, and then someone could sneak in and get the ball back off of them and create a chance for us. So we did sort of figure some things out tactically, which again you like to see. You like to see positive reactions tactically from a coaching perspective, but ultimately not enough, obviously. Should we do some comments, Con?
Sure.
Pull up my phone. All right. So first of all, thanks Umer for the technical help. Wide Caves back. He goes, hi guys, it looks like we had a lot of chances yesterday, but to create something we need like 99 passes. We are very slow. The defenders have not much passing options, so they pass to each other on and on. I don't know. I mean, like we've said a couple times, right? Their goalkeeper did make 5 good saves, and then I think more saves in total.
At least,
some of them maybe not. Some of them less.
At
impressive.
least 5 really good ones. The one on the endure shot in the first 10 minutes, I think that was. Then the layoff by Mucci to Ciro. Then the shot from Rafa that he pushed against the bar. The penalty, that's 4. And then definitely the Sali chance late in the second half. I know that comes at...
Here you go, Khan. Here we go. I have stats from Fatma. Yeah, he made 10 saves. 7 of them were diving saves. 3 of them were saves inside the box. So that's a counter to what Özcan was saying in our group chat. Yeah, I mean, 58 touches for a goalkeeper too, which is pretty wild. Yeah, so that's I suppose my counter to that comment, YK. I think we actually did create a bunch. Of course, we did have to pass around a lot, and yes, the build-up can be slow at times. But I don't know if yesterday that was a detractor for the most part. I think we did pretty dang well. It's just frustrating that we caught. I was comparing it to, and for any basketball fans, it seems like the Knicks always get this from these like random players. Someone will show up at the Garden. Some like guy who's never more than like a 7th man on most rotations. He'll come in and score like 40 points and beat us, and it's like, who the hell is this guy? And that's really what it felt like yesterday with this Cao Santos. Like I don't know who. I never heard of him. I think even their own fans were kind of like didn't really care much for him, and then it's just one of those days where he came locked and loaded.
Purely based on yesterday, I think he's like gonna be on the top of some transfer lists in Turkey for the coming years.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Especially like our rivals could probably try to pull.
He'll always have a job in Turkey after that display yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Man, yeah, he just played out of his boots. What can you say? Carlito del Carmen says, people forget that this is a complete overhaul. And the players, as well as most of the staff, is just max 2 months together. For most players, it's the first time in Istanbul, and then he continues a new country, new club, new teammates, new playing style. It takes time for all of them to get used to all of this. The impatience is ridiculous. Yeah, I fully, and that's actually the point I was trying to make, was that when I was talking about how good Frankfurt is and how I sort of judge the Bundesliga quite high, the second part of that thought was, and like it's no shame for us to be not at that level, even though I think yesterday we were, just given that, where we're coming from, right? Like we're still basically in a rebuild. This is not a season where, we have a complete squad by any measure, right? We all know some of the holes we had, and frankly, we all know why we have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw how much work it took to get rid of, what was it, 22 players or maybe even more? I think that might be an outdated figure.
Yeah, that depends, I think, on whether you include like youth players who are loaned, and obviously I don't think you should include those. But we had to offload a shit ton of players, and that is also another thing that really stands out, I think, in our fandom, is there are so many fans who, like, I think we had a good transfer window. I think we went from the worst team, like the worst Beşiktaş in 25 years to now. Look, knock on wood, so far we look decent, and it's early days, but we've already taken a few big steps, and hopefully we can continue to take those steps. But the expectations are so everyone, even us, I think, we're very greedy as a fan base. Like, we made some really good moves this summer. I think we did a really good job at improving our squad. But we just want more. We want more. We still want a winger, maybe 2. We still want the fullback, maybe 2. We keep wanting more and more and more. We are so greedy. We're like a fat kid with ice cream. Like, you have an entire freezer full of buckets of Ben and Jerry ice cream, and you just keep eating until you gonna explode. Like, that's what we're like at the moment. Like, as fans, like, we've gotten a few really good buckets of ice cream already, but we're not quite full yet. We want more buckets of ice cream because
Yeah. What about after this one's done? Yeah, exactly. No, and look, I took a lot of heat in the preseason for some of my sober predictions, and I said, I wouldn't be too upset with a third place finish, for example, which got me in a lot of heat. I said, but as long as we're competing with our rivals, just given where we've come from, right? When we predicted the Europa League results, I also had predicted the least amount of points. In fact, I'm basically on target, right? I said we were only going to get 1 point. We didn't even get 1 point from these two, but I mean, we have to be cognizant of who we are and where we've come from. Even relative to Ajax, people are like, oh, Ajax is in the worst shape they've been in years. So are we, technically, or at least we're just barely on the other end of that, right? And so we have to be somewhat realistic about where we are.
Ajax.
And frankly, like the reason, just real quick, the reason I was slightly negative on the Ajax thing is just it's the first match day of Europe. We're going away on the road to what's bound to be a full stadium of excited support, right? You have to look at the full context, right? So I don't, and I'm typically the sort of serial optimist, right? The toxic positivity guy. But it is what it is. Like I still I don't even think our European campaign is in the garbage by any stretch, right? Because these are the two of maybe the three top teams we're going to face this competition.
Well,
on paper,
I think we're facing four. We've got 8 games, and I think 4 of the teams are on paper. On paper they are better than us. You know what I mean? Like Athletic Club, Lyon, obviously Frankfurt, and Ajax. The thing with Ajax is they are coming off of a very comparably bad season last season. The difference is we ended our season on a high note with the Turkish Cup. We started off our season now on a high note with the Super Cup and a really good start in the league and a good European qualifiers. Ajax, on the contrary, they struggled. They look better than they did last season, but they're still we've gone from Mr. Hyde to now Dr. Jekyll. And they're still kind of in between that transition, if that makes sense. They're not fully transformed yet.
They're finding their feet. You could.
But it's still Ajax though, and even the Dutch fans, look, this is Ajax. They have arguably a top 3 academy in the world. Like these 17, 18, 19-year-olds players that are coming up, they are. Yeah. This is Ajax. They only produce top talents. If you make it to the first team of Ajax, you've got something. You have to. If you make it to the first team of Beşiktaş as a youth player, what are you guaranteed? Birinci League football? Not even that. If you make it to the first team of Ajax, usually you're guaranteed at least a decent professional career, and that Fitz Jim guy, for example, that looks like a really good young player that can go a long way. And I think you
could probably, honestly, when you look at that whole team, and as I was doing the roster last week and kind of going over their age and everything, you start to realize this is one of those teams where 5-10 years from now, you're looking back and it's like, holy crap, they had all of those players on the same team, because they're all already getting starting rotation minutes at that age for a club like Ajax. They're not going to get relegated in the Eredivisie or anything, you know what I mean? They're going to have a good season by the end of it, and so it's all to their benefit.
They're not winning the Eredivisie because PSV are running away with it again, but that doesn't mean that they can't still have a decent season. Look, yesterday I think they drew 1-1 against Slavia Prague, and people are immediately then oh look, no, they're drawing to Slavia Prague. Why couldn't they have had an off day against us? But Slavia Prague, let's not forget, Sparta Prague last season kicked Galatasaray's ass. Slavia Prague in the qualifiers pushed Lille to the limit. Lille that knocked out Fenerbahce and just beat Real Madrid in the Champions League. Slavia Prague pushed them to the limit and should have always gone through, but missed too many chances. That is.
Plus, we know we played too defensively against Ajax. We've contended, and frankly, it was great news. It was a very good sign that his response to that was what we saw yesterday against Eintracht Frankfurt. He took the correct approach, which shows the ability to course correct.
Sharon Gunesh would have probably started Onana again because he likes to be stubborn. Like he
just to be like, hey, don't boo him. Like we're gonna,
No, but like
exactly.
yeah, like I think last week against Ajax is for me will always kind of be a what if we started with our usual game plan and with our usual starting 11. Yesterday is a similar what if we scored those chances. What if they get a red card? What if Chiro scores that penalty? Like at the end of the day,
what if Gabriel Paulista doesn't have that brain fart?
And that's
and here's another thought, a positive thought. I had this very thought when after it happened. In a way, I was glad that it was Gabriel Paulista.
Yeah.
Because you just know that if it was Svensson or if it was Felix Udokai, some shit agenda. Oh, he's not good enough.
I'm really happy it wasn't Udokai because I think Udokai came in with the expectation. People had the expectations of Mats Hummels. And then Udokai came. Yeah. I think Udokai has been really good. I have really liked him so far. I think he is a massive improvement on Colli. Some people were saying, like I think maybe in our WhatsApp group or something, I don't even remember where I was reading it, but some people were saying, "Oh, this isn't a big upgrade to Colli." I was like, oh, "What football are you watching? Seriously?" Like, and I'm a Colli fan. I like Colli, but like Udokai is a massive step up from Colli. Really good with the ball at his feet. He's fast for his height. He makes good interceptions, good challenges. He doesn't do stupid stuff. Yeah, and Paulista normally you would say doesn't do stupid stuff either, but yesterday he did something stupid. It can happen, shit happens.
Exactly.
But yesterday,
and that's why I know that Gabriel Paulista has built up enough credit with our fans already that nobody's gonna be like, oh, we need to replace him in the winter. Like, no, like we all know that was a boneheaded mistake that happens to everyone. We've seen it happen to every single player in professional football. Like it just happened.
Yeah.
And we move on.
Let's talk about. Is there anything else you want to talk about the game, or are we still doing the comments? I kind of lost track.
Yeah. Oh yeah, comments. That's right. Yes, I am still doing the comments.
Let us know, by the way, guys. In the meantime, while we are doing the comments, give us your opinions already on the whole booing ordeal. Let us know that already, because that's the next subject I want to dive into. But let's finish the comments first.
About that for sure. So next was Kartal. Greetings from Fethiye, Turkey. What's up, Kartal? Hope you're doing well over there. And he said, yeah, on the live stream, he thought that Cheeto was on as well, that he wasn't offside. I think we can all agree that was.
If he was,
trying to avoid controversy early in the match, and then he creates more.
If he was offside, which is possible, it was millimeter work. It was like by 1 or 2 centimeters maybe, and that only emphasizes my point that it was that yesterday was details deciding the game, because it's a detail of when do they exactly freeze the frame. When do the VAR referees say, oh, now the ball leaves his foot? Like 0.1 second is the difference between offside or not. So it is so incredibly arbitrary. Mm-hmm. So like those are little details that decide European matches. Details decide a lot of football matches, also domestically. Derbies, for sure. Closely matched games are almost always decided by details. And in Europe, that is true more so than anywhere else, because the level is so much higher. The level of the Europa League is not...
They'll punish you for
exactly, you cannot compare the Europa League to the Super League. It's a massive step up. It's not quite Champions League yet, but it's already... Like, if you look at the lineup of the Europa League this season... Like, on paper, we are literally one of the weaker teams in the Europa League this season. And that's not even going by coefficients. That's also just being realistic. Yeah. I think, if I looked at the lineup of the Conference League yesterday, Sinan, and I was like feeling like, man, I wish we were in the Conference League. I genuinely think we could have won it this season. I genuinely think we could win it. Like, seeing the teams that are in the Conference League this season, it's a shame, man. Like, it's almost a shame Lugano knocked us out. It's almost a shame, but...
They didn't even, yeah.
It didn't knock us out,
continuing, Umer Gunal says, I think without Cook, that goalkeeper doesn't play the way he did. After all, losing the captain can affect everyone. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs, like we said. Yusuf, part of our negative Dutch contingency.
No.
Right.
I
really,
think that's unfair. That's unfair.
I've been giving him a hard time ever since he had a kid because I keep calling him
he's
grumpy.
just cranky because but he's not negative. Like Yusuf is
no, he's not.
like I love Yusuf. He's my boo.
Of course, everyone loves Yusuf, but yeah, he's. I think the Dutch contingency has some sort of and Yusuf doesn't actually. It doesn't apply to him. I think he's just been a little.
I think
sometimes,
our other.
There does seem to be some geo-fixation by a lot of the Dutch Turks that we're encountering.
Maybe. I think.
Anyway, not Yusuf, which feels unfair.
And not Ural either. I think Ural is a very positive guy too. So I think it must just be those two guys who will remain unnamed.
Who's Ural?
From our community, from our WhatsApp community.
Oh,
the Dutch
okay.
Eagle.
Oh, that's the you guy.
Yeah,
okay,
it might be the you guy. I'm not sure. I have him.
I know this
have him in my phone on his name, so I don't see those screen names anymore. So, but he's a really positive guy. He's Carlito. That's him. Carlito. He's Dutch.
Hey. Oh, he's not.
He's always positive.
He's definitely. He's a good guy. He's fine.
He's a good egg.
He's fine. Unlike this guy who's commenting. I'm kidding. Yeah, Yusuf. But yeah, he says, I really want to know our XG between minute 45 and minute 83 because that phase is what pissed me off yesterday. Has to be near zero from 40 minutes. I maybe not till the 80th. Is the 83rd? What happened in the 83rd minute?
I think the 81st or so minute, I think we start. Like he's not wrong. Remember when I said a little bit earlier that
there was a dead zone.
There was definitely.
That's when they looked like they were more likely to get
there was a period
third,
where you could tell it's gonna be 3-0 before it's gonna be 1-2 in the second half. But I think that that's all has to do with confidence, with the momentum of the game, and at that point. The team wasn't really feeling it. I get that it pisses you off, but that's also just a reality of football. And I think we are still in a place right now. We are still building up. Like you don't just become a steamrolling train, full bursting of confidence just like that. I think that's a process that takes a while. Gio needs time. The players need time. The team needs time. Of course, the only way to build confidence consistently is by winning matches, but I think consistently winning matches is something you can only really do domestically when you're at the start of a project. You need to keep in mind when Channel got his success both domestically and in Europe, like the first season under Channel was not good in the Europa League, if you'll remember. We went out in the group stages, if you remember. It was the second season under Channel that we had a good run in the Champions League, lost 6-0 to Dynamo Kiev, but of course that was due to terrible refereeing, and then had a good run in the Europa League afterwards. But it took Channel until the second season for us to have a good European run, and then we had back-to-back 2 memorable European runs, one that we will never forget. I think both we will never forget, but the first season under Channel and season 4 and was he there for a 5th? I don't even remember. But like season 1 and season 4 were not good in Europe. And obviously, ever since 2018, we haven't been good in Europe. So I don't think it's fair to judge Gio too harshly based on the Europa League right now. I think we need to be realistic.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I think it's really important to recognize that we are barely, a couple months into this new project, and frankly, we're not even a couple weeks into some of our players arriving, at the end of the transfer window. So we really are still at a point where we're, what's the word I'm looking for? Not ingratiating, incorporating a lot of new elements to the team still. It's worth noting that Giovanni has been tinkering quite a bit, right? He's still looking for that ideal 11 in some ways. He's very close to finding it. For me personally, like the missing link is putting Sammy up at left wing, but on the other hand, he's not played well and he's clearly overweight. Those rumors are not fictitious as far as what we're seeing with our own eyes. So I don't know what to do about that.
You know something that jumps out to me, Sinan? And nobody's mentioned it yet, so this is my hot take. But have you noticed Simi stopped taking care of his hair? He hasn't been gelling up his hair for the games. He always does. His hair usually always looks good. And the last 2 games, it's kind of looked like he just got out of bed. That's usually not a great sign, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's dumb.
I mean, it could be he's like focused on the pitch and like not, he's like too, you know what I mean, hyper focused. But that's clearly not the case, unfortunately. So I don't know. We'll keep our eye on that. But on the other hand, I would say that there's nothing wrong with a manager, especially when you have a young player like that, holding them to a higher standard and like, fighting with them, not literally, but that back and forth of like, I'll play you, but you better, get your shit together, don't, focus more on your nutrition, a little bit less Hunkar Bayende, after practice, whatever it might be, like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a slightly more authoritative tone when you have a young guy like that. Anyway,
I think
more comments. Sorry, go ahead.
I think actually Gio is doing him a favor by being demanding and harsh on him. I think that's a lesson that Semi needs to learn, and he's always seemed like a very disciplined player to me. But I don't know, like,
don't lose it.
Maybe he got a little bit complacent because maybe he thought going into the season his spot in the team was guaranteed. And I think it's very important for a player that age to keep working hard. They can't grow complacent. I think we have seen too many big talents in the past grow complacent really early. And Simi is the last one that can happen to. It cannot happen to him because he is such a big gem for us. He's so important to us. And I know fans are seeing it as, Gio is kind of wasting him. I don't think so, guys. I think he's teaching him a very valuable lesson. That's a lesson he needs to learn. Yeah. Semi cannot assume his place in the team is guaranteed, because then you lose the potential. When you start thinking everything is you're entitled. When a young player thinks he's entitled to a position in the lineup, that's when you start to lose them. So I think what Gio is trying to do
it's best to nip that in the bud too, right? Like you want to, before anything settles into his psyche.
Keep in mind, Gio is known to be really good with young players, so he knows what he's doing. So give him the benefit of the doubt. It is really not a reason to complain. I understand it's frustrating. I think we all want to see Simi, but we need to be
the right way. The right way. Not you don't want to be feeding bad habits, right?
Please get to the
anyway. I'll continue. Then we have Denver Nuggets. Wrong NBA team, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Sunday the preseason starts. Denver. Greetings from Lower Saxony, which is even more confusing. Now you're on the other continent, different continent. Talking about Denver Nuggets. Match didn't go our way, no worries. Continuing with King Arthur will be challenging. Masuaku, was he bad in this last match? I don't even really remember much about him.
I don't think he was particularly bad, but offensively he was very ineffective.
His crossing was
he wasn't.
Imperfect,
it wasn't a good.
we'll say.
Look, he wasn't terrible like he was against Ajax, but I wouldn't say he was definitely not good. I think together with Rasicka, he was our weakest player offensively. Rasicka I thought Rasicka had probably his worst game in a Beşiktaş shirt, and I don't know. There's been a few bad games for him, but this one definitely stands out to me. Where I really felt in this game like he is simply not good enough for the level we aspire to achieve. That's the key, by the way.
I still think he's a fine 12th man.
Yeah,
as a starter,
but Sinan, do you want a foreigner to take up that spot? As a,
Well, maybe 12th man. I mean, once you're down to like the 14th or 5th, you definitely need some. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think you can afford him in that role, but we definitely need a creator as a starter.
He also has a relatively high wage. I think he's on like 2 million a year, so it's like,
really?
Yeah, like, his transfer market value is estimated at 8 million, so I wouldn't be against selling him.
I'll take it. I would take 10 mil for that.
I would take 8 million in a heartbeat.
Especially if someone sees his stats this year, they'll be like, okay, that guy looked like he's having a productive... Yes, he's having a great season. Buy him right now. Anyway, Umer Gunal says, don't be surprised if Galatasaray buys that goalkeeper to replace Muslera. Yeah, it's literally what we were joking about. Then he goes on, Pogba's ban got reduced to 2025, by the way. Maybe we should get him. We're pretty covered in that role, to be fair. And then he goes, in 2 months, we are up there competing in the league and slowly forming into something, but people want what? Europa League trophy in October? They're delusional. Yeah, I mean, we've covered that impatience pretty thoroughly, and obviously we agree. He says, Chelsea, sorry, this is still Umer. He says, Chelsea has Conference League in the bag. They might have the Conference League in the bag. They also have they have a special capacity for bottling of late, it seems, so we'll see. And then finally he goes, what is the XHC, the expected haircuts for Semi? We'll see about that. He's got to get his act together first. Carlito then goes, okay, the name thing is getting out of hand. I'll change my YouTube name. Happy to not be part of the negative Dutch group.
No, I like Carlito. I think that's cool. Just keep it.
Keep Carlito, man. Yeah,
you are Carlito, bro. You're our Carlito. It's like
It's too late now, yeah. It's imprinted.
If anything, you should change your WhatsApp name to Carlito.
There we go. Go fully buy in. And finally, Umer Gunal says, didn't Semi have an argument with Serdar Toprak Tepe last year, telling him where he feels he should play instead of listening to the coach?
I don't think that was an argument, though. I think that was it was framed at the time as Serdar asked him where he would like to play or something like that, and Semi said, I feel comfortable playing on the wing. Which is weird, because, he's all, in interviews, he always said that he's a striker. He said that himself, but it wasn't framed as an argument, at least. It wasn't, I don't think it was an argument. I don't think there have been signs of attitude issues with Semi so far. I think the main issue with Semi is just apparently he gained some weight during his injury of the when he got injured during the national team break. Apparently he gained some weight, and that's what's being said. That's what we were told. I don't know if it's true. The source is pretty decent, but you never know for sure. And also, like, in the pre-match press conference that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst gave on Wednesday, he addressed it because he was asked about why Semi isn't starting, and he just said, I think it was that one, and he said, Semi knows why he's not starting, and that's enough for me. So there is a reason, and it's something that has clearly been discussed between both Semi and Gio. So I think we need to trust in Gio. I think we need to have confidence and faith in him that he will make the right decision. He is not going to bench Semi just to be funny, like there's no point to benching Semi. But I also need to. I think we also need to acknowledge the fact that we were saying at the beginning of the season we're wasting Mucci now, because I think that would be a waste. And he's been giving Mucci minutes now, so like we were saying it in the summer. It's very difficult with Rafa coming in to keep both Mucci and Semi, because one of them is probably going to be on the bench, and that's kind of been the case so far. So I think we need to understand that we cannot have both, unfortunately. And hopefully, I am really hopeful that in January that Mucci gets sold, especially after yesterday, because I think he does not deserve to be treated like that by, granted, a minority, but I do not think that anyone especially Mucci, deserves to be booed by his own fans. And I really hope that we can sell him for a good price. And a good price is a profit. So 12 million, 13 million, 14 million, 15 million, as long as we don't make a loss. If we can sell him in January, if we can get rid of Ox, and if we can maybe loan out Onana or sell Onana, that would free up 3 foreign spots that we can then use for a winger, a much needed winger, maybe 2, and a backup fullback. And then I think we are good. But again, like, some fans expected us to do all of that in the summer, and I just don't think that's realistic. Any more comments we need to get to, Sinan?
No, I think we got to the end there.
All
yeah,
right,
we
let's
did.
talk about
And just to really quick, I wanted to back
Mm.
up what you said, though. I do feel that going into the season, we said that it was sort of an ideal situation that no matter who got selected, whether it was Mucci or Sami, that it was sort of ideal, right? We were seeing a good young player get developed and get playing time. So, you know, if trying to think of like it was like Kenan Karaman or something who was getting playing time, or like Onur Bulut, for example. Sure, like we could complain, but I think we're still developing talent. We're still theoretically upping someone's resale value, no matter who we play in that role. So yeah, people need to shut up. And I mean, maybe that's a good segue, Con, to the rant that I think we both have tucked away for today, huh?
Yeah. Do you wanna start, Sinan? Do you wanna lead it in?
Gladly, yeah. And I think the reason it's a good segue is because Mucci was part of the story here. I was gonna say part of the problem, but that's not true. The problem is our fans and
a portion of the fans, I think we should say.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you.
I mean, we're fans and we're criticizing.
I don't know if you
obviously,
did you notice, by the way, Sinan, like after they booed Ersin, like a large portion of the stadiums then started chanting Ersin's name in support of Ersin. So it was a vocal minority in the stadium, and it got countered by the majority of the stadium. But it's still such a negative thing that we need to address it, I think. And one of the biggest fan groups of the club, Goodfellas, already issued a statement on it and said that they basically condemned it, and they said that they also
they're gonna kick your ass.
They're gonna kick your ass if they catch you doing it again, essentially. And I really hope Chasha issue a similar statement. I think the big fan groups need to unite on this subject and really speak out against it, because we are having a really good start to our Super League campaign this season, and this kind of stuff could derail it.
Yeah, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst literally commented on how it was sort of mystifying to him, and he doesn't understand why anyone would do that. And I fully understand, because he's in this process, right? He's got everything working against him. He's trying to get a new team with a ton of new players, playing a new tactic. A lot of them are in a new country. Like, I think it was, Umer highlighted a number of that stuff, a number of those points already. He doesn't need to have to contend with that kind of bullshit too. You know what I mean? And that's just a distraction, and it's working against what he's trying to happen, which is to improve morale and camaraderie and get the team on the same page and working for the same goal. Yeah. It's so counterproductive, and sorry, I know that's probably a more controversial word to I was gonna say God damn it, but no, freaking damn it, people, like, pull your shit together. Like, we can't slide back into that stuff. We've all been traumatized by these last few years. I so understand these little bouts of negativity, right? When you're only winning by a goal, it's like, oh my god, they're gonna score, they're gonna equalize, and then they don't, and it's like, we're all suffering from this sort of excessive negativity that's a product of these last few years.
I think it's a form of anxiety.
Yes, sure, but fuck, don't ruin this for us, guys. Like, I understand we're all coming from the same place. We're all struggling with the same fears and doubts and all that stuff. But there's just no reason to make the same mistakes that frankly probably made the last problem even worse. The last few years. it's never helpful to boo a player who you need to play for you.
Yeah, exactly. And Sinan,
Mert Gunok is injured.
Yeah.
Like, Ersin's probably going to play the next 3 games.
Yeah,
Get your shit together, people.
maybe he has to start on Sunday, and like what added benefit does it have to, like, in the last 60 seconds or whatever it was of the game, to then decide to start booing 2 players that not unlikely will start on Sunday? And look, I think there are certain circumstances, very very small circumstances, like there are not a lot of them, where you can perhaps justify booing a player, like, the whole contingent, like Daniel Amarte, for example. Like, he would have deserved to gotten booed, But and I think in the past, Tolga at a certain point had reached a level, not necessarily Tolga that deserved to get booed. It was more Şenol Güneş and his decision to play Tolga.
Yeah.
That was like, it was acceptable to protest the decision of playing him. However, you can send a message and then stop, but there is no message to be sent here. There is no added benefit to this. Like, what do we gain from booing Ersin? And what did Ersin do wrong to deserve to get booed? He was a 19-year-old goalkeeper that won us our last was our goalkeeper during our last championship. Like, why on earth would you boo him? And Mucci.
And like, what did he do yesterday? What did either of these players do yesterday that makes people feel they need to do that?
Ersin didn't do anything positive or negative, in my opinion. He had a very bland game. And he made maybe like one good one-on-one save or something like that, but
1 or 2
maybe. But he didn't have a good game. Let's not act like he had a good game. But Mucci statistically was one of our better players. It's 6 key passes or something like that. Barely lost the ball. He had a really good layoff to Ciro. I mean, he had, and on top of that, he's playing on the left wing, something that is not very natural to him. I think he did well enough. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he had a great game or anything like that, but he was certainly not bad. He was one of the.
He didn't ghost. His biggest problem has been ghosting, and he was on the ball. He wasn't losing it, right? He didn't like.
Yeah, and that's
maybe, but he wasn't a net negative.
And that's the worst thing of it all, I think, Sinan, because I feel like Gio's been giving him more and more chances recently, and I've not been impressed. And this was the first time I thought we're seeing glimpses of last season's Mucci again. And I thought, okay, this is good. Maybe we're winning him back. Because I feel like with Mucci, we kind of lost him for a while there because of the whole situation with the national team, with the Albanian national team. He lost all the confidence because of that. Then he lost his place in our starting 11. He lost confidence because of that. And I definitely think his morale and his confidence and his mental health as a football player took a little bit of a hit. And I felt for the first time against Frankfurt yesterday that he was showing signs of, maybe on Sunday he could be really good against Gaziantep. That's a sign of thing. Yeah. And then these fucking idiots have to go and boo him. And I don't even understand why. Like, look, if you would boo Onur Bulut, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I would understand it. Because he has
where it's coming
because
from,
he's a very he has been a very frustrating player for a long time. Mucci has been with us 7 or 8 months. He played well enough last season, scored a couple of important goals, including in the semifinals against Ankaragücü that got us to the party. Played a very selfless game against Trabzon in the final, which allowed Jetson to shine. And I don't see what I really do not understand the logic behind booing him. Like, I can't even imagine why you would boo him. Like, with Onur, I can imagine it. With Ersin, I can somewhat imagine it too. I greatly disagree with it because I think he is somebody that deserves a lot more credit and respect from our fan base. But I know that for a lot of fans, even despite the fact that we won the league and he was our goalkeeper in that league, and that's like never happened before that a 19-year-old goalkeeper was, the goalkeeper of a league-winning team. Like, even despite that, Essie never really had a lot of credit with the majority of fans, I've had the impression, and his little credit that he did have has been steadily deteriorating in the following seasons. But like, but Mucci, like, this is coming out of nowhere. He was the big signing together with Musrati that everyone was excited about last winter, sorry. And despite the fact that maybe he didn't have the impact that some people expected, which I think is kind of normal given the state our team was in last season. But to boo him now, and he hasn't even played a bad game yet. Like, why are you booing him? Because he's starting ahead of Simi? Like, that's the only thing I can think of. But if that's your reason to boo him, then you're so fucking dumb. So dumb.
Agreed.
Yeah. Where do you keep walking off to, Sinan, by the way? You keep leaving your seat.
I hear my daughter. She's fooling around in the kitchen. I'm like, what is that noise over there? Hey, Kaya, get out of there. Come on.
Maybe she's making herself a triple-decker pancake or something.
She's doing something she's not supposed to. Cause she's in the freezer with the ice cream. We don't need that.
Oh, that sounds mischievous.
Exactly. And plus, we have to get ready for practice. Anyway. Yeah.
What Guzel Insanlar is saying, by the way, support. That's why you are there. I understand. You paid a lot of money for your ticket. You have the right to criticize and to protest. But yesterday, even the players that played bad, like Rasička, for example, I think you can't see a single player on that pitch that didn't give 100%. And even at 3-0, guys, they kept attacking, they kept going, and they kept trying to find a goal because they didn't want to send the fans home with a 3-0 spanking. Against Ajax last week, as soon as the 2-0 went in, heads dropped. And it was over. Game was over. But yesterday against Frankfurt, they kept trying and they kept going. And what more can you expect? Like, you can't expect anything more than that from a team.
Sorry, that was for Atip John. I was showing him my coach's board there. No, I agree. And again, like if it was if we were playing Riga, right, that Latvian side. You could have certain expectations and you could feel disappointed by whatever output was out there, but and you could say even though we're trying 100%, like it wasn't good enough. But we played a great side in good form. We played them with our style, and we looked very much their equal, if not slightly better, I think, for much of this match. I really don't know. I know we're all traumatized, right? I mean, I can kind of say this over and over again. I know we all have this sort of PTSD, but I don't see how booing. Yeah, I mean, I never support the booing. I never think it's useful, no. And I think that maybe like after the match, you can and there's a way to convey your disappointment with players. But like during the match, it's just never useful because like you need these guys to put out their best effort for you. You want like we were feared throughout Europe for decades, because of the noise we made as fans, and I think we probably still are feared based on the reputation we've garnered from decades past. But I think I'm guessing that Frankfurt's players aren't going away from yesterday's match super impressed by our fans, or like, oh, I've never heard noise like that before. I mean, because moments, and I mean, one interesting thing was like Felix Odokai was talking about how impressed he was by the noise, that he'd never heard anything like that. And so obviously, like, we're still doing it in spurts at times, but I don't know. I really don't. I don't even understand, like, trying to rationalize from, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, I genuinely don't understand what that booing was about yesterday. I don't think either player deserved it. No. I don't think, even if they did, it would have been useful given the conteast. Like, no. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who are you protesting? Who would you rather see in goal if Mert Gunak is injured? Like,
It's like these fans still thought it was last season or something. Like, you're literally like endangering, hurting our momentum. Like, okay, I understand you lose twice in Europe. That's very disappointing. We're bottom of the Europa League stage at the moment. That is very disappointing. We didn't get a very favorable draw. I know Kachtel and I were very optimistic. You know, that's kind of our jobs, I feel like, to be a little optimistic. You can also be super negative, but what's the point of that? Like, what's the point of being a negative Nancy? Like, there's no, like, realistic, okay. I think you either are positive or you're realistic, but being negative, to be negative for the sake of it, like, there's no point to that. I don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And look, I don't think we got a particularly favorable draw. I think we got 4, or at least, I think we got 4 opponents that I really didn't have a super lot of faith in, like Bodo Glimt away. I think Athletic Club, that's a tough one. I think Athletic Club is very similar to Frankfurt. I think that I would not be surprised if that's gonna be a game we lose 2-0 or 1-3 or something like that. You know, like I expect a similar match against Frankfurt, against Athletic Club than yesterday against Frankfurt, where I think we put up a good fight, but in the end of the day we probably come up short. But you know, I think yesterday is one of those matches where if everything clicked, we win that because we were good. And if Chiro hits his penalty 20 centimeters more to the left, it's a goal. If Ndur hits his shot 20 centimeters more to the left, it's a goal. If Chiro hits his shot, all those saves that Kawa Santos made were all like, if we just hit that ball slightly more away from him,
that way
it's
or
a goal.
that way or
Yeah, I think none of those shots were, other than perhaps the Sali one. I don't think you can place that necessarily better from that situation. But yeah, like I said, man, it was all details, and I don't think there's a reason to be negative about yesterday's performance other than the result. Gio said the same thing, like, the performance was there, the result just isn't. We were sloppy on the second goal, we didn't defend well on the free kick, we were dumb to give away the penalty. Those two goals we conceded, those are individual mistakes, or individual, the first one, the penalty, individual for Paulista, and then I think the free kick is more a collective failure. And then the third goal, look, the third goal, that's just gonna happen. You're gonna give away space, you're pushing, they're gonna get chances for counterattacks. They had a few already, and sooner or later, you're gonna pay the piper. Yeah, exactly.
And that second goal, you've got to give credit where it's due. You know, that was a little bit like, I think it was Lugano who had that one goal in the first match that was just so good that I was like, yeah, what can you do about it? And this was same, right? It was like a perfectly pinged kick right onto someone's head. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, maybe Felix could have like beat him to the header, but it's, you know, it is what it is. He just sort of edged him out, put it right into the path of someone who was making a run that was perfectly timed. You know, there's not like there's not a ton you can do about
free
it.
Kick, and it worked out well. They had a good set piece. That can happen. You know, it's unfortunate that it happens in the same game where you give away a silly penalty. It's unfortunate. I still think if Chiro scores his penalty, and I'm not blaming Chiro for the record, I'm not blaming him at all because I think he hit his penalty well enough. Goalkeeper just had a great save.
Good strike.
But I think if Chiro scores that, the momentum of the game completely changes, and the difference then is we still, like, you know, we didn't score and we kept attacking. The difference is if you score, it gives you a boost, it gives you a confidence boost, and I think that's what we lacked in that, what Yusuf was talking about earlier, between the 45th and the 83rd minute. That might be a little harsh, I'm not sure, but you know, in that time, like, I think the main thing we lacked was confidence, especially as that Kawa Santos was racking up his saves. Like, at a certain point, like, us watching the game, I think we all had a feeling of, this guy isn't going to concede today. That's the same for the guys on the field. Like, they feel the same way. They're there, they're living it. So every time that guy makes a save, that gnaws at your confidence. So it's a human reaction, I think. So if Ciro scores that, or if one of our chances goes in, like one of the shots from either Ciro or Rafa or Ndu or whatever, if one of those goes in, I think you have a different game, because then your team has a lot more confidence. Plus, their goalkeeper isn't unbeatable. Like, now he was so unbeatable. Did you see how disappointed he was when he conceded that goal from Masuaku at the end? Like,
it was funny. That was such a funny end to the game.
Yeah. But also, I think in a way, it wasn't a good goal, but it was a deserved goal. You know, like we did.
Oh yeah, no, there was so much justice there at work. It was.
I think 0-3 would have been such a. I mean, I think 1-3 is still extremely harsh, but 0-3 would have been totally. Like that's that's the new. If you forfeit a game nowadays, it's 3-0. So that's forfeit numbers now. It used to be 5-0, but nowadays it's 3-0, I believe. So yeah, no, that would have been really really hard. Do we want to finish up with the comments, Sinan?
Sure. Yeah, do a few more comments. Yeah, and just to wrap up, off of that thought you just had, I think, dude, yeah, we can't allow ourselves to get too down. We're really on the cusp of a new era for this team, where we're doing things the right way. We can't allow every bump on the road to derail us and get us all freaking panicked and booing players and throwing the whole team under the bus. We don't need that. But anyway, let's do our final comments before we wrap things up. Atil John, it's just transfer marked, and we know how that goes. With Semi's transfer value just went up to 15 mil. Hopefully this negative stint he's having will turn around soon. He could be worth 20 by May. That would be nice. Denver Nuggets writes, Kaveci also showed himself, I think he means Irfan Can Kaveci, I suppose, but playing as a wingback, maybe Gio can try Semi Kılıçsoy as a wingback for 3-4-2-1. I'm sure everyone wants to watch Semi. He keeps calling him Kılıçsoy, and I keep fixing it to Semi. I wants to watch Semi as much as they want to win. I disagree with that. I think I'd rather win.
Who wants that? Is he talking about? He's talking about other people, right?
Yeah, I'm sure everyone.
I mean, last season I understand that, but this season, that's just dumb.
No, we can win. We can win. Yeah, I think maybe he means.
I think he means other people, though. I don't think he means himself.
I'm sure nobody wants to see Semi play as much as they want us to win. Yeah, which would make sense.
Yeah.
Atil John then follows that up. Many fans stayed after the game and cheered the team on. I wanted to take that as an opportunity to tell folks that Gabriel Paulista stayed back and asked for apology from the fans. It was a very nice gesture, and I think they gave him a round of applause. So hopefully,
I think the only negative yesterday, other than the losses, is the fans. The reaction of those fans. They ruined it. I think yesterday could have been, just another bump in the road. But now it becomes these idiots blew it up. They made it bigger than it had to be.
And he goes, nope, Nihat Kaveci. Oh, all right, Denver. So you're our age. I always assume that players like that that's like the Khan and I special. So you're another old timer. Good for you. And that makes sense. Yeah, he did do that. Atil Jan, was that? Many fans now. Okay, Carlito. The Boers can go support Başakşehir here. We don't need them. Yeah, that's fine. They need a few fans, probably. Umer Gunal, I think the most embarrassing moment of yesterday was the fans not just booing, but also by being silenced by 2,000 Frankfurt fans. Yeah, I often wonder how much that, I feel like the mic setup for the TV is closer to the away fans, because we had a friend who was there who said that it didn't seem as stark in person. I don't know. We've already talked about.
It's also worth mentioning Frankfurt fans are kind of known as have the reputation of being the best fans in Germany, and that's saying something. So, they're very high up there in terms of best fans in the world. So there were 3,000 of them there as well. So You know.
Yeah.
Did
No,
you notice that
they did well?
I thought they were like chanting Beşiktaş sometimes, and I was like, are they mocking us or what are they doing? I wasn't sure. You know, doesn't really.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think they were.
Question.
But I don't know.
Maybe that was us. Yeah, who knows? I thought John was joking about my Coach Supplies con. That's why I went and grabbed my clipboard. Denver Nuggets again, according to one of Space Dream. According to something on Twitter Spaces, I suppose, right? Or X, whatever. After the match, fans called for Erson, but he did not appear. This led to some jeers from some of the crowd.
He had gone straight into. I think he went straight into the dressing room. So like, I mean.
Yeah, and people are mad that he didn't come out of the locker room. Like, yeah, they are.
I mean, you know,
right. That's crazy.
I think he was. I think he. You know, I understand. Like, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, why would you stay out there? But at the same time, though, I mean, there was a big portion of the crowd that started chanting his name even before the full-time whistle. So perhaps he could have stayed out there, but it might have not been the worst thing that he went in, because can you imagine that if he stayed out there and like
imagine people start booing,
people start booing again, and like fights break out in the stands. You know?
Yeah, maybe he probably did exactly the right thing. Plus, again, like I think once you're in the locker room, like, you know, it's like the genie in the lamp. You know, you're not pulling that sucker out for any, like, you let it go, let that be done. The issues that arose with the crowd. So this is Atiljan. The issues that arose with the crowd, it would have been a complete opposite situation if that Chiro penalty went in. Crowd would have lost their minds to push for the tying goal. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Not justifying what happened with the booing, but probably wouldn't have happened if things worked out differently. Yeah, that's probably true. Drone Buddy, hey guys. Hey Drone Buddy. Is that
Asim?
Asim,
yeah,
maybe?
might be.
Or is that Ege, our little negative Dutchman? Guzelians online. Frankfurt fans met at the Gezi Park and Teen Walker to the stadium. Frankfurt is cool. Teen Walker.
I assume they walked to the stadium with our fans or something, or what?
Yeah, I guess he probably means they got together and walked as a kind of collective or something. That's great. Yeah, no, and it's obvious they have good fans.
I heard them chant. I thought I heard them chant Beşiktaş a few times, but I was thinking, I was kind of thinking two things. First I was like, are they mocking us? And then I was thinking, or are they like calling our fans to return their chant? Like it almost felt like that.
Yeah, maybe they were being kind of.
I don't think
brotherhood type thing.
Yeah, no, I mean Frankfurt is a wonderful club, and all the best to them, of course, in the rest of the Europa League. I just feel like yesterday. I think on a different day we beat them with the football we played yesterday. It's just, you know, I think for them everything went right. For us everything went wrong. You know, I think for them if it's 50-50, I think they got the benefit on everything. Like they got the benefit on the offside that didn't cause them to go down to 10. They got the benefits on us being stupid and giving them a penalty. I'm not gonna call it a dive. I know some people were saying, oh, that looked like a dive, but I think that's just really stupid from Polista to lunge in there. I think it's unnecessary. You're literally giving him the opportunity, and the problem is like with VAR, if it's a dive and like there's no contact, VAR will intervene and overturn. But if there's contact, I don't think VAR can do anything, because then they have to refer to the interpretation of the position of the referee on the pitch, because they cannot show a clear error. Because obviously when there's no contact, it's a clear error because it's a mistake because there's no contact.
Yeah.
But if there's contact,
and what's worse though is, well, and that's where when you know there's definitely contact, and what's worse is that like you as a player you can't guarantee that like the angle that's going to bring you justice is going to be available to the refs, right? And so like I think there might have been some logic to the idea that Marmoush was like kind of falling forward into the leg that was out, but given the angle, you can't even tell like if the contact came first or not. I mean, it looks like he kind of goes into Paulista's leg, kind of falling forward. But again, because the angle is basically straightforward, you can't really, you just see like the leg and you see the player behind, and there's no way you can really confirm when the contact is made. So there's nothing for the ref to even be able to overturn it, even if it were a dive. So it's, yeah, it is what it is. He shouldn't have left his leg out there. It was clumsy. Too bad. And also what's worse is it was like against the run of play at that point, and totally gave them momentum where they didn't have it. So it's human error. That's all it is.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. It's like I said, in Europe, like I think people forget this, man, especially like in the group stages or the league stages. In this, like you can still play weaker opposition. It's still possible, but the majority of teams you're gonna face are gonna be either on a similar level, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, but the difference is gonna be small, or they're gonna be above you in the Europa League. I think in the Conference League you have a far greater chance of facing significantly weaker opponents on paper. But even then, I mean, we saw last season that that doesn't mean shit. You still have to be good. You're not going to beat a well-disciplined, well-coached team like Bodo Glimt, for example. Bodo Glimt, like we should always be beating them, right? And Porto should always be beating them, right? But Porto lost against them last week.
It happens to the best.
They have a really good coach. They have a good setup. They have good tactics. They have a lot of stuff going for them, and they're established. Whereas Gio is starting to build something from scratch, and he's gonna need time. And sometimes you get situations like with Slaven Bilic, where you kind of catch lightning in a bottle, and you do really well against really good opponents like Arsenal, like Tottenham, like Liverpool. But don't forget, he went out against Club Brugge, So
yep.
I think for Turkish teams, it's a lot easier to be good against teams like that. Against the really big teams, like either you might get slapped, but then everyone's like, yeah, well, it's kind of normal. It's not that abnormal.
It looks pretty good.
But like, there's gonna be like, if for example, like I would much rather play against Manchester United right now, home or away, than Frankfurt or Athletic Club or Bodo Glimt or Lyon. I would much rather play Manchester United, because against Manchester United, like, what do you have to lose? If you lose, it's kind of normal because it's Manchester United, but they're so shit right now. The chances of you getting a point or winning
catch them off guard
is significantly bigger. And then it's like, oh my god, they beat Manchester United. Look at Twente last week. They got a point away at Man United, and everyone's like, oh my god, look at Twente, look at Twente. It's this all you can't lose if you play a team like that. But when you play a team like Eintracht Frankfurt, which isn't Borussia Dortmund or Bayern München, it's not how people see that. The perception isn't like that, Even Lyon, the perception from Lyon isn't Paris Saint-Germain, The perception from Bodo Glimt is, it's just a Norwegian team. That's the perception. That's not the reality, but that's how Turkish fans look at it.
Yeah. The plastics, yeah. Well, anyway, we can't hang our heads on it. Let's wrap this thing up.
Let's wrap it up. Can I do a couple of plugs, Sinan, before you take us out?
Sure.
So obviously,
and real quick, one thing first before you do, I just want to mention that our match this coming Sunday is an hour earlier than it has been previously for anyone. They just changed it, so I had to make note of that on my calendar. Yeah. So folks, you should too.
I think it's at 6, right? Let me check. So
yeah.
6 Central European.
Noon for me.
6 Central European, so that'll be 7 local, I suppose. I'm just checking it right now. The clock didn't change yet, right? Because I hate that, man. Like, And so
They did, because I had written it in my calendars at 1 p.m.
Did they change the clock, or is it just a different kickoff time? But you're right. It's it's an hour early. So for those of you in Central Europe, it's 6. For those of you in the UK, it's 5. For those of you on the East Coast of the United States, it's noon. What's the time difference with the West Coast, Sinan? That's 3 hours, right?
3. So it'd be 9 a.m. if you're in California.
For the people in Australia, I don't know what that is. Asim, you'll have to help us out, man. But like, make note of it, guys.
For like 4 a.m.
But it's a Sunday game, so you know, I mean, like, it shouldn't matter too much, right? All right. Anyway, let me get a couple of plugs in. Well, the first one isn't really a plug. It's just a little extension. I'm going to extend the whole EAFC giveaway until Monday. I didn't really have time for it today to do the draw and stuff. So let's do it Monday. We'll announce the winner on Monday. That also means you still have time. So if you forgot to comment on episode 300, this is 301, so go to episode 300, go into the comment section, comment Xbox, and just give us your thoughts on the game against City. Give us your thoughts again about the game. I mean, if you don't want to give us your thoughts, it doesn't matter. Just make sure Xbox is in there. And keep in mind, it's a code for, I believe it's the Ultimate Edition, but I'm not guaranteeing that. It says Ultimate Edition, but I heard from a friend of mine that he didn't get any of the Ultimate stuff from his code, even though it said Ultimate. So it's EAFC 25. It's free. Go comment on episode number 300 in under our live shows, and maybe you'll win it. Of course, you need to have an Xbox Series S or Series X to be able to play it. So make sure you have one. Don't be a douchebag and try and win the code just to sell it or whatever. So yeah, you still have until the next episode, which will be Monday. I will do my utmost to have a winner ready to announce on Monday. Other than that, if you want to support us, other than watching us and subscribing and all that kind of stuff, obviously leave us a like, guys. Thumbs up, so much appreciated. Help a bunch. Please, whenever you watch, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us. Other than that, if you want, you can also support us monetarily by going to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. You'll get early access to a bunch of our videos that we do, like for example the European previews and other kind of stuff like player highlights when we focus on transfer targets and stuff like that, and we invite expert guests. Those videos will always be up early on our Patreon page, and you'll get to watch it a few days to a week early. Other than that, there's a weekly VIP exclusive podcast that you can also get access to, and it's just $1.99 a month. It's not a lot of money for you, but for us it really helps to keep on improving our product for you, and product, I don't know if you can call it product, but you know what we do, to keep doing what we're doing. We've been doing this for 6 years, 300 plus episodes now. We've been we've put a lot of sweat, blood and tears into this, Sinan and I, but also a lot of money over the years.
Yeah.
A lot of money. So if you want to support us by giving a little bit something every month, go to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. You can try it out for free for 7 days. If you're not sure, you just want to try it out, give it a 7-day trial, and you can always opt out after that. That's all the plugging I have to do. We will be back on Monday following hopefully a good result in Antep. We have, I believe, never won against this iteration of Gaziantep Football Club. So I really hope, fingers crossed, that we get a positive result on Sunday and we can continue our tremendous run in the league. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Mr. Sinan now to take us out.
Yeah, I mean, what can one say? You know, it's been a less than ideal start to our Europa League campaign, but we've faced very difficult opposition. We still have plenty of time to get the thing back on track. The most important thing is the league, however, and obviously we have a huge match this weekend. Every match is huge going forward. But so, you know, in that vein, I would be remiss not to mention that we should all be thinking, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody. See ya on Monday. Peace. All right, dude.
Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne.
Good.
Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo